Computer law. The Data Protection Act of 1998. So data collected has got to be kept safe and secure and used in a fair way. It can only be held for given purposes. It must be relevant and not excessive, so you can't hold too much information. You've got to justify why you're holding that information. Information has got to be accurate and up to date and not kept no longer than is necessary. And you can't transfer information outside of the EU. The Computer Misuse Act, so that's accessing computer data without permission, such as looking at each other's files or logging on as somebody else. It might be with intent to commit criminal offences, so say for example hacking into a bank's computer, although not always, altering computer data without permission, so maybe writing a virus to destroy data or changing money in a bank account, the amount of money that you have. Other types of computer misuse might be hacking into somebody else's details, or file copying and distributing copyrighted software such as music and films. Email and chat room abuse. So we hear stories all the time about bullying online, etc., and how that has now become increasingly a criminal offence. Identity and financial abuse. Pornography and viruses, sometimes also known as malware, that will be used to either gain information, such as passwords and bank details, or maybe just do some damage, malicious damage to other people's data. Copyright protected material, so anything that's copyright, text, film, images, software. It protects those people because, after all, they're producing that information. That's their method of payment for their work. Laws will vary around the world, but that's who it's protecting. It's protecting the author of that material. Material remains protected for 70 years after the person's death. Creative Commons licenses, that's where someone can set their own license for their work. So say, for example, this piece of work now that I'm doing has got a Creative Commons license, and I'm allowing anybody to access it, such as students and teachers that might find it useful. So it encourages information to be shared. So if I've got a license or a cost on this, then it wouldn't be shared as freely as I'm now doing, where there's no license and no cost, and it'll generate more interest and more business if you make your information more freely available. Legal distribution of work. So attribution means that you can copy and distribute and perform material. So say, for example, you perform songs, etc., as long as you credit the person that's written it, the author. Share alike. So you can do that as long as you've got the correct license. You could have a software license for that. Non-commercial, so you can copy, distribute, display and perform the work if it's for non-commercial purposes, such as education or just for interest. And no derivative works. You can only copy, distribute and display the information if it's an exact copy, an exact replica, so you can't change it anyway. Patents are interesting. So some kinds of material are owned by a commercial company, so such as MP3 files are actually owned by a company, and they can put restrictions on how that material can be used. Acceptable use policy. Well, this is similar to the law. It's where somebody will sign an agreement. You sign an agreement, and your parents do, back in year 7 before you use the computer. So students and staff working together, using the right equipment and the software in a way that's acceptable to the school. That's what you're signing up for. And what you basically sign up to say is that you're not going to steal information, you're not going to post anything that's inappropriate or might cause anybody any upset, such as bullying. You're not going to share any login details and log on as somebody else or allow anybody else to log in as you, and you're not going to attempt to hack into the system, and you're going to be polite whilst online.